The head of the snake is the financial system.
Europe will not survive.
Hello. Years ago I saw this BBC documentary. It seeks to answer the question why Germany has a stronger economy than Britain. It's okay, you can watch this for entertainment purpose. It's a nice documentary, as long as you don't expect a serious answer. At the end they beat the Brits over the head by saying, look, the Germans are simply better than you guys. They have a better work ethic. They are not going to tell you the secret of Germany's economy, and frankly, I don't think they could, if they wanted to. Chances are they themselves don't know better. In order to unpack this, we need a couple of terms and concepts. Nothing you would typically get in school, but also not rocket science. Let's begin with business entity. When I say business entity, I mean an independent business entity. Which is to say, you have plenty of customers on the one side and plenty of sources to buy from on the other side. If one of your sources dries up, you can still buy from another source, and if you lose a customer here and gain a customer there, you don't go out of business. The moment you rely on a single big player or a small group of big players, be it as a source or as a customer, you are not independent anymore and therefore don't qualify as a business entity. The next one is inflation, the common term. If you look up inflation, you will likely find one of two definitions. It can be increase of prices. That's misleading, since prices don't change in most cases. If you are lucky, you might find devaluation of money instead. That's correct. In most cases, that's exactly what it is. Number 3. Spiritual inflation and the money chain. In lack of a better term, I had to invent one. The German language doesn't provide a term for this phenomenon either, or at last none I am aware of. While the common term inflation refers to the purchase power of your money, spiritual inflation has the focus on the business entity, which is to say, how valuable is this money in your eyes if you own it? Imagine you are a poor welfare recipient. An incoming transaction of $10 is significant in your eyes, since it translates into food for 3 days if necessary. On the other hand, if you are a vulture capitalist managing a hedge fund, an incoming transaction of $10 will be insignificant in your eyes. As a consequence, we can construct a money chain in which the money suffers spiritual inflation with every level. Let's say the welfare recipient buys a pack of cigarettes from his local drug dealer. The dealer buys a used car. The used car salesman buys a new car, and finally the manufacturer invests his profit into the hedge fund. We assume the business entities become richer with every hop. As a consequence, the $10 become more and more insignificant. This is important because the structure of this chain is the major reason for a strong or a weak economy. By structure I mean 3 characteristics. How many possible targets are there for the next hop? The more the better. At which level are those targets? They are more valuable at lower levels. How long is the chain? How many hops until your money ends up in a pocket too deep to be relevant anymore? The longer, the better. Okay, with this in mind, let's construct the strongest possible economy. This would be the case if every single individual in your society qualifies as an independent business entity and there are no big players in the game. Without big players, the chain has no top and is therefore infinite. Your money can hop around without ever getting stuck in a pocket too deep. It will stay forever relevant. And since every individual is a business entity, the money has with every hop the maximum of available options for the next target. But there is a downside to this economy. You cannot have an aircraft carrier. This would require much larger corporations. Your individuals can only produce simple goods. At this point, it should be obvious how the weakest economy looks like. Omnicorp is the one and only producer of everything. As a consequence, all individuals either work for Omnicorp or get a welfare check from Omnicorp. The money chain has only two levels, top and bottom. Money can hop from Omnicorp to the individual, and as soon as the individual spends it, it will hop back to Omnicorp and becomes immediately insignificant. That's as weak as it gets. But at last you can have an aircraft carrier. Omnicorp is certainly big enough to build one. We need one final tool: the psychology of friendship. If you look around in your circle, you will quickly realize the people around you are very similar to you. Racial, ethnic background, religious background, comparable politics, comparable educational background, age bracket, income bracket, and so on and so on. That's not a coincidence. That's just how humans operate. If you are a millionaire, you don't have poor friends, and if you are impoverished, you certainly don't know many rich people. Why is this important? Because companies behave the same way, and especially banks. Companies, or banks for that matter, are run by humans and express oftentimes a comparable psychology. Your big international trading bank will seek to do business preferably with business entities of a comparable character, which is to say global players with focus on international business and comparable notoriety. Alright, now we have all tools together. Let's answer the original question: why is Germany's economy stronger than Britain's? With the tools, this is really not rocket science. Germany is structured like the US, a federation of states whereby the states are divided into counties or districts. Many cities count as independent district. Altogether, we are talking about roughly 400 districts or counties. Now keep in mind, Germany has roughly the size of Texas. If you divide Texas into 400 units, you get pretty small units. Traditionally, we have banks on county level. In other words, roughly 400 small banks all over the place. The small banks take the time to talk to small and medium-sized business in the area, and they can afford to do so, since they are familiar with the local environment. As a consequence, Germany has more small and medium-sized business, which in return improves the money chain. More possible targets for the next hop on low levels, and the chain gets longer. More hops until the money ends up in a pocket too deep to be relevant anymore. And that's the simple reason why Germany's economy is stronger than Britain's. The underlying banking sector has a better structure. I'm not convinced the BBC guys understand this. And if they do, they are certainly not supposed to blow the whistle. If you talk about money and banking, next thing you know, you get accused of anti-Semitism, right? In the US, the central bank has managed to crush all local banks as far as I understand it. In Germany, this system is quite old, 200 years or 400 years or so. Presumably one of the many reasons why the Jews hate Germans so much. How dare inferior Goyim run a decentralized banking system? In the past, Germany's politicians have undertaken conscious efforts to protect structures like this. I'm not sure they still do this. I'm under the impression our Muppets in Berlin are so dumb, uneducated and inept by now, they are probably not even aware of this. And if they are likely too corrupt anyway to resist globalist cancer. The continued pressure by the colonial power is not helpful either. This is a long-winded way to say, I wouldn't be surprised if Germany's days as an economic power are numbered by now. Especially with this delusional lockdown business upon us. Alright, that's what I wanted to share with you today. I hope you enjoyed my thick German accent. Be well, wherever you are.